Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hope you all have had a wonderful week. Hope you all have had a wonderful day so far. My day has been blessed. I cannot complain. God is a good God. I'm alive. I'm above the ground and not underneath the ground. So that's the reason all by itself not to complain. But I'm so happy to be back here on another Thursday with another phenomenal testimony from a beautiful young lady tonight. Y'all know I love getting testimonies from young women to testify of what God is able to do in your life. So I'm especially excited because we have another young lady, only 25 years old, that's going to share her testimony with us tonight. So I'm excited. I hope you all are excited as well to hear Destinee's Doumbia's testimony tonight. And y'all know, since I love hearing, these young ladies' testimonies so much, y'all, if you're on, go ahead and hit the share button so somebody else can see that Women Who Rise, we are live tonight on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And more importantly than that, we have a young woman that's going to share her testimony. So y'all make sure y'all hit the share button so another young lady or a young man can see that we are live and they can come on, they can rise with us tonight. So I know Destinee has a beautiful testimony that she's going to share with us all. And I want as many young people, young women, young men, as many as possible to hear Destinee's testimony tonight. We love our young people, so I want as many of them as possible to hear her testimony. Hello, everyone. Thank you all who have joined so far, whether you joined on Facebook, whether you joined on YouTube. Thank y'all so much. I do want to say I apologize that we were not live on last week. I had gotten a little sick. Well, not a little, a lot of sick. On last week, and unfortunately I was not able to go on with doing the show. I wasn't able to go live. Normally I'm able to push through and still come and sit in front of Women Who Rise, and I just push through, I power through it, but I just was not able to on last week, and it hurt me to my heart, y'all. But wisdom is the principal thing. I didn't want to sit in front of y'all looking the way that I was looking and sounding the way I was sounding and feeling the way I was feeling. So I had to cancel on last week, unfortunately, but I thank God for each of you who still follow Women Who Rise. Those of you who even inboxed me and said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm praying. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I thank God for it, y'all. I love y'all so much. I thank God for the prayers of the righteous because they do avail much, and I'm healed by the power of God. So I'm happy to be here. Again, like I said, with another amazing testimony from a beautiful young lady. And I hope you all are excited. I hope you all are ready. Again, before I bring her on screen, go ahead and hit the share button so somebody else can see that Women Who Rise, we're live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Miss Destinee Doumbia on screen with us tonight so we can go ahead and get her testimony. Hello, everyone. Thank you all who are joining. I appreciate y'all so much. And everyone, there is our lovely guest for tonight. As I stated, the young, and she's so beautiful, such a sweet young woman. Amen. Miss Destinee Doumbia is with us tonight. Y'all already know. Let's go ahead and give Destinee a great big hand clap. Let's give her a great big Women Who Rise applause and welcome. Just to say, Destinee, thank you so much, number one, for accepting my invitation to come on and share your testimony and share with us what God has done in your life. I'm excited to have you. I've said so many times how I love having young women on to testify. I want the world to see that you do not have to be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or 100s. Have a testimony that God has blessed you to rise, or that God has brought you out of something, that God has come through for you. So I'm especially excited tonight. Let me ask you, how are you doing on this Thursday evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm good. So like I said, I'm excited to have you. Is there anything you would like to say to greet the viewers before we get your testimony?
Just hello everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I hope that I say something that uplifts and encourages someone today.
Absolutely. I have no doubt, y'all. She's going to say something to uplift and to encourage you all on tonight. And I'm ready for the uplifting. I'm ready for the encouragement that's going to come out of your mouth tonight. And if you are new to this channel tonight, we are Women Who Rise, y'all. I'm your host, Tiara Randall. We're here every Thursday 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I have a different woman sharing her testimony, women of all ages, sharing their testimony of how God can simply bless you to rise. And I say so often, matter of fact, I say every week that the same God that blessed me to rise, same God that blessed Destiny to rise, is the same God that can bless you to rise. The Bible declares that he is no respecter of persons, meaning that if he loves me, he loves you too. So that's why we're here every Thursday. We're just testifying of what the Lord has done and how he blessed us to rise. And as I forestated, our lovely guest is Miss Destinee tonight, y'all. A beautiful young woman, only 25 years old, that is going to share with us what the Lord has done in her life. So Destinee, I always start out every week to all of my guests with the first question of, when you first hear those 3 words, women who rise, what are the thoughts that come to your head?
So when I think of a woman who rises, simply like the simplest words of going to a higher place or a position. I believe when you rise, you have to gain strength to rise, to move from a lower position to a higher one. I also think, when you're rising, it's not like a mountain peak, like it's not just one top to it, I believe that's reoccurring, like once you rise from one aspect in your life, there's going to come other instances that you will still have to continue to rise from. So that's what I think it means to rise.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. I love how she said rising is a reoccurring thing. You don't just rise once. You can keep rising. You don't have to just have a testimony. I rose from that one thing and that was it. No, you can have the testimony that you rose from every challenge that the enemy has thrown your way. So I love it, y'all. We can have reoccurring rises. We can keep rising.
Yes.
So I love that. I don't think that point has ever been, pointed out before. So I love it. I want to move on to my next question, Destinee. And I say every week that this is my favorite question because this question is where the testimony comes in at. Can you share with us a time in your life where you came to your defining moment, where you came to that pivotal moment in your life, that fork in the road that left you with the question of, am I going to stay in this shape? Am I going to stay in this place? Or am I going to choose to rise? And I say so often that we as women, both young and older, have so many testimonies that we can share. We go through things like people would not imagine. I'm not going to say that men don't go through things, but I feel like as women, we go through a little bit more, we have a little bit more we have to deal with. So as you being a young woman, when you look back over your life, can you share with us a time where you came to your defining moment? And not only that, can you share with us, how did you choose to rise through it?
Okay. So I kind of like a 2-in-1, but I mean, they both tie into each other. So I'm not going to take too long. But pretty much, growing up, I'm going to keep it real simple, but growing up, I grew up in church or whatever. And, so like the first testimony would be, just the fact of like, while I was in church, my mom and everything, we were in like a domestic violence, household. Nobody really knew that, while I was dealing with those things. And I would say like, that was like from the time I can remember, maybe like 3, 4, until about the time I graduated high school. And when I say like abuse, it was like abuse towards me, towards my mom, physical, mental, if you can count the whole 9, even a little bit of sexual abuse, towards me. But I just thank God, because I did rise from it. But during that time, nobody knew what I was going through. It was a very hard time in my life. I had to deal with these things, and it's not that I had to deal with it on my own, but when someone is harming you or when someone is abusing you, they can put a fear in you.
Right.
And so, at the time, I was dealing with all of these things, and so we're just going to move forward. After I did deal with all those things, I got out of the situation, left it behind me. The enemy still fought me, it was a very defining moment because at that time, I was very depressed. This is around the time I was 17, just getting out of high school, left the situation, but I was very depressed. I didn't have really any sense of self-worth. People didn't see it because I would hide it, of course, but, I didn't know, I was almost like, growing up, I was like, does God even love me or care, because of the things that was going on in my life that I had dealt with through years of trauma. And so, I would just always question, like, is this even like, does God even care? Like, I also had so much, hatred and just pain, built up towards my mother, of course, because, I just felt like she allowed these things, to happen to me. But I just thank God, because, he did take away that trauma. Thankfully, I'm not in that place like talking about these things. I used to be sobbing, I couldn't get it out, but I thank God, he delivered me from that. I don't have that hurt in my heart anymore. I don't have that pain anymore. And through that, I had to do a lot of praying, of course. I had to do a lot of reaching out to God, to fill those voids and those pains that I was dealing with. Um, and I just thank God, for delivering me. But it was so heavy, I was carrying it for years, the experience that I had on my shoulder, I felt entitled to that pain that I was experiencing. I felt like I had the right to be angry, at that point, me and my mom's relationship, it was pretty much destroyed. At that point, I didn't really want to have anything to do with my mom. Not only that, the enemy had planted so many seeds in my heart, that God didn't love me or he didn't care. He wasn't concerned about those things I was going through. But of course, the devil is a liar. But, after a while, I did get tired of carrying those things, and I fully released them to God. I wanted God, to bring me to the point where it wouldn't phase me, it wouldn't be something that hurt me anymore. But I just thank God, after, also reading your word, like I just thank God, after reading my word to the point where I read, about what God says about me, what God says, who God says that I am, I thank God that helped me overcome, a lot. And I rehearsed that in my life to plant good seeds, after, it was tore down.
Right.
So, I just thank God, that I am the apple of his eye, that I'm wonderfully and fearfully made. So I thank God, for bringing me up to that place. I'm no longer in the pit, but I thank God, for also helping me rise in forgiveness, and that's a hard thing to do when someone hurts you or harms you. And I'm not saying when I say forgive someone, I'm also not saying that they're entitled to forgiveness, but I'm also not enabling their behavior. Their
Right.
behavior was wrong. It's not something that should have happened. No one should be, getting abused or dealing with any hurt towards them, right?
Right.
I'm not saying that you will even trust that person again. But forgiveness is letting your offender off the hook. Forgiveness is not letting your offender off the hook, but it's letting you off the hook. So I just thank God,
Yes.
it's letting go of the desire to control the situation. So I had to realize that I can't control this anymore. I have to give it all to God.
Right. Right.
And also I just want to say, forgiveness doesn't mean access to you, if someone has harmed you or hurt you. Um, and it also is the power to free you from the offense committed against you. So I just thank God, for bringing me to this place, like I said. And thankfully, like when I talk about it, like I said, I don't get emotional from a place of hurt, but I get emotional from a place of gratitude because I know that it could have been another way.
That's right.
I do realize that I could be, strung out. I could be, out of my mind. Um, I could be so many other places, but
Right.
thankfully to God, I'm in the house of God, I want to serve God. And thankfully, it doesn't have a hold on my mind, my heart, my soul. And I just thank God, for that. I also want to say, it's not easy to pray for someone when they have hurted you,
Right.
but I do realize that when I stay angry, I stay a victim and
Mm.
to the situation. And I'm still allowing them to continue to hurt me even after those blows have stopped, So
Right.
whenever I was, still lingering in the pain, lingering in the hurt, I was the one hurting. No one else was hurting but me. But, I thank God, Um, I also think eventually, God will get you ready for forgiveness. Say not everybody may not be there. As soon as it happened, of course, like I said, it was years of trauma. It took me years to even get to this point.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, you may not be there at this point, but God will eventually bring you there, if you're living for him, because we all have to forgive,
That's right.
put those things behind us. But I just thank God because it frees me from the pain, from the anger, from the bitterness, so I just thank God for that. And the second testimony really is just tying into how pretty much, at one point, I feel like I could do it all on my own. I felt like I strayed away from God. I had all these pains, all these emotions, all these things going on in my life, and I strayed away from God, and whenever a time came in my life, I did get pregnant with my daughter. And I feel like that was God bringing me back to him. I feel like, um, I wasn't just living for myself at this point. Also, I knew that I needed God in my life. I was tired and sick of the things, that I was allowing to just take place and, just running away from God. But, I thank God because he brought me back to him. I
Yeah.
thank God, that my daughter really showed me that, I needed to get myself right, not only for myself, but for her. I want her to know her worth in Christ. And I want her to, put God as her first person. I want her to know that, she could do anything through Christ that strengthens her. And so I feel like that really brought me back to where I needed to be. God used that situation to bring me to a good place. So I just thank God, for all the everything that happened, the good, bad, and ugly, like I say sometimes,
Right.
because it all, just ties in and leads us back to God. And I also want to say, when you are broken, when you are in like a bad place, God can heal you completely.
That's right.
Um, yes, like it's hard, to get there. Sometimes you do have to do a lot of inner work for yourself, but God can get you to the place where you are healed. God doesn't want us to live miserable lives, but he wants us to live abundant ones. I believe that. So I do believe that, when you're in a dark place, you can rise with the power of Jesus.
That's right.
So that's really my testimony. I wanted to keep it short and simple, but yeah, God can heal you, he can restore you.
Yes.
Um, he can tell you that you can rise through him. There's nothing too big or too small, that he can't mend, he can't fix. He can heal your heart, he can mend your heart, he can fix your mind, anything that you need. I just want to say that God can uplift and, get you to that place to rise. God
Right.
is the answer. Jesus is the
Yes.
answer. Amen.
Yes. Oh, I love it, Destiny. You, like you just said, you kept it short and simple, but yet everything you said was so powerful. Um, I love how I'm gonna go over a few things that you said because you said a lot of good things that I just want to, briefly point out. I
Mhm.
love how you talked about the forgiveness and you said you forgiving someone does not mean you are enabling their
Amen.
behavior. And I'm so glad that you said that.
Yeah.
Also with forgiveness does not mean you're letting your offender off of the hook.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we feel like if I forgive and if I forget about it, they're getting away with it.
Right.
You know, um, a lot of
Mhm.
times we feel like, if I forgive and if I forget, then there's no punishment for them.
Right. Yeah.
God, what are you going to do to them? And a lot of times we may not even see that person
Yes.
get, the punishment or their, whatever is going to happen to them for whatever trauma that they caused us. Even if we
Mhm.
don't see it, we have to understand and trust that God is a just God.
Yes. God will take care of it. Amen.
Yes, he's a faithful God and he is a just God. Whether we see
Mhm.
them get their punishment, whether we know of it or not, that's when we just have to forgive, forget, move on, and trust that God is a just God. And the
Amen.
Bible declares that vengeance is mine, said the Lord. I will repay. So
Mhm.
I love how you pointed that out. I also love how you said that when you stay angry, you remain a victim. And
Yeah.
that's one thing, even as children of God, the devil would love for us to stay mad, stay
Mhm.
angry, stay bitter. And you also said how you felt like you were entitled
Yeah.
to stay in
I
those
did.
feelings and to continue having those feelings. And I'm like, you pointed out so much. You said so many things that, most saved people will never admit,
Mhm.
that we feel entitled to feel. I'm mad and I'm entitled to feel mad. I'm angry, I'm bitter, and I'm entitled to feel all these things. But no,
Yeah.
not when we serve a God that's able to heal you.
Right. And what really did it for me is just knowing, God forgives me. There's so many things that I've done, and like I
Mhm.
said, it's not enabling the person
Right.
that abused you, but there's so many things that I've done, God could hold those things against me.
That's right.
He could say, you're not worthy of forgiveness either, but I do realize that and it's so great when God forgives you, it's so great, it's so
Yes.
amazing. It's nothing that you could do to earn it. And I just thank God, for that. And that just showed me like, if, and also, just even speaking on Christ, Christ went through so many things that he did not deserve.
Right.
So much abuse, so much, pain, but yet even in his pain, he still forgave. And, of course,
Right.
that just leads us back to know that we need to forgive as well, to even, show that we're worthy of forgiveness. We have to forgive as well.
Right, right. I love it. And forgiveness is still a powerful thing,
Yes.
Even if we feel like the offender deserves our forgiveness, because a lot of times we feel like they don't deserve it.
Mhm.
You hurt me, I'm
Yeah.
not forgiving you. You do not
Right.
deserve. And my bishop, he said years ago, and that's one thing that I have held on to, and that's one thing that has stuck with me from the time that he said it.
Mhm.
He said, you have to learn how to accept the apology that you never got.
Yes. That's it.
I'm gonna say that again. You have to learn
Yes.
to accept the apology that you never got. The apology that was never verbalized to you.
Mhm.
They never came to you and said, I'm sorry. They never text messaged you and said, I'm sorry.
Right.
They never called you and said, I'm sorry. You still have to be able to accept that apology. Because if we
Amen.
can't forgive, we cannot expect God to forgive us
Right.
or anything. So that's one thing that he said, that when I say that hit me like a ton of rocks, because I was in a place
Mhm.
where I was offended, and
Yeah.
the devil wanted me to remain offended at individuals who had wronged me. At
Mhm.
the time, I had it so heavy in my head to where you still hadn't apologized. You still hadn't apologized, So
Right.
like you said, I felt entitled because I had not gotten that apology. So in
Yeah.
my head, I was convinced that,
Mhm.
I'm okay,
Right.
I don't have to
Yeah.
forgive you. You hadn't apologized. So
Right.
forgiveness, I felt like forgiveness was not required of me
Mhm.
because you hadn't apologized to me. But
Yeah.
God still requires us to forgive even when the individual has not apologized. And you know what?
Amen.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but
Yes.
sometimes you may never get an apology.
Right. Yeah. It's like you just have to give it to God and know that he's going to take care of it.
That's it. And I think the real growth and maturity comes in to where knowing you have not got an apology and you really may be due an apology, but the
Yeah.
real growth and maturity comes in where you can move on and you can go on with your life,
Mhm.
knowing you never
Right.
got an apology or you may
And
never get an apology.
right, like my daughter needs for me to rise. My family, my husband,
Yeah.
everybody, besides myself, my family needs for me to rise. I can't stay in a low place,
Mm,
especially when you're, living for someone else as well, like my
right.
daughter, for instance. So, I can't also realize like I can't stay in a low place, even before her, I realized, I can't stay in this low place. I don't want to stay in this low place. I
Right.
don't want to feel these emotions and have this anger and this hate and this depression, So
Right. And I love it because forgiveness frees us. Forgiveness
yes.
is not even for the other individual.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is for our own peace of mind.
Yes.
It's for our own freedom. And I found out when you're not forgiving, when you're holding on to unforgiveness, you're basically keeping yourself locked in prison.
Yes.
You have the key in your hand, but you're sitting in a cell refusing to get up and unlock the door and free yourself
Mhm.
because you're refusing to forgive. So, y'all, God is speaking tonight. Whether you get an apology or not, just accept the apology, whether
Amen.
you've gotten it or not, and free yourself. And I also
Yes.
love Destiny. I'm gonna point this out before I ask you my next question. I love how you said God will use that ugly situation to bring you to a good place.
Mhm.
And it's like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow, knowing that, God can use something that was for my
Right.
detriment or something, traumatic that happened to me and bring you to a good place. But when I look at you, Destinee, and I look at when I hear what you've testified about, and I look at your life right now, for anybody that personally knows you, you have a beautiful life, and it
Thank you.
also reminded me, I'm thinking about a lot of messages my bishop has preached. I thought about another message, right? You were talking that he preached entitled, "It Had to Happen."
Yes.
That was the title of his sermon. Oh, I want to say well over 15 years ago, maybe
Yeah.
20 years ago, but I
Right.
remember to this day, he preached a message entitled, "It Had
Yes.
to happen. We don't
Mhm.
always understand, well, why did this have to happen? But it had to happen. It's all a part of our making in order to bring us to that good place that
Right.
God
And
wants us to be in.
like I said earlier, of course you have to do a lot of praying. And like I said, it's hard to pray for someone that has offended you or done you wrong. But when you do pray, God always works,
Mhm.
and that pretty much, the prayer, that you pray, it may or it may not change that person, but one thing it will always change you. It will always change your heart. It will always change your thoughts, your emotions,
Mhm.
how you feel towards the situation.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna write that down, y'all. She said, when you pray, even if it don't change the other person that you're praying for, prayer will change you.
Hmm.
So prayer is working regardless of whether we can see it or feel it or not. You may see the individual
Yeah,
and it literally may look like they getting worse. You know,
right.
they may offend you again. And you like, I know I'm
Yeah.
praying for them, and they seem like they getting
Hmm.
worse. They getting further and further away from apologizing to me, but not even knowing prayer is working on you.
Yes.
It's making you better because you've yielded your heart and I love it.
Hmm.
You yielded your heart and yourself to forgiveness and just the willingness to even pray for another individual. So I love it. God is amazing. God is amazing, y'all. I want to
He
ask you
is.
this next question, Destinee. I love it. I love your transparency. And I know this is not an easy
Yeah.
topic or an easy testimony to share, or an easy, subject to talk
Hmm.
about. But I love how you said you could talk about it now without shedding tears of sorrow.
Yes.
So, and only
Right.
God can do that.
Amen. Literally, only him.
God is a healer. He's a mender of a broken heart.
Yes.
He's able to do it. I want to ask you this question, Destinee. What would be your advice tonight to the individual, both male and female, and this is regardless of their age, who may be in a place in their life to where, I guess this is a two-part question. They may be in a situation similar to what you were in
Hmm.
as a teenager, what you went through. They may be in a household to where they're dealing with domestic violence, abuse of any form. What would be your advice
Right.
to that individual tonight, as well as how would you encourage them, just to let God come in and deliver, to let God heal them, to let God bring them out?
Well, first I would say, if you are a teenager, child, anything like that, even adult,
Mhm.
unlike me at the time, I would say definitely speak up, tell somebody, scream it to the world, tell someone, especially someone you trust or that will help you in your situation. Don't keep silent, because that's not going to get you anywhere. That's just going to keep you where you are in the same place of pain, hurt, so I would just say speak up, don't hold it in. I would say, if you're out of that situation and you're still hurting, you're still dealing with those things of the past, I would say, pray, talk to God, also talk to someone else still to get those emotions out too, fully release those emotions and feelings. But I would also say pray, you can only get to a place out of bitterness to a place of victory or overcoming something by praying and giving it to God. You can't do it on your own. So I would just say you have to pray, you have to submit to prayer and trust God that He's going to handle it. You can't carry it on your own. And I would say like worshiping God, I mean, that's like one thing that I did. Definitely like, just truly knowing who God is to me, who I am to God, worshiping Him and giving Him all my burdens, because He cared for me. So I would
That's
just say, just give Him all of your troubles, all your burdens, worship God, reach out to Him. Just know that forgive your abuser, forgive yourself even, and know that God will deal with the rest. Um, I will also say, get in your word and read what God says about you, all those hurtful things that was instilled into you, like that may have been thrown into your face. I remember Bishop does say, when someone says something negative to you, it takes so many positive, I don't remember how many times he said, but it takes so many positive things to get rid of that one negative thought.
right.
And so, you do have to rehearse to yourself positive things over your life that God has declared. It's not even about what you declare, but what God has declared about you.
Right.
To even get out of that place. And I just want you to know that if you're broken, God can make you whole again. You know, He can put
Yes.
all of the broken pieces of your heart back together again. You can get a complete healing wherever it is, whatever you've been through. And that true restoration is possible through Jesus. You know, it's only through Him. And that's what I would say.
Yes. Oh, y'all, true restoration is possible. And like she said, it's only through Jesus only. And I love how you also just said a brief moment ago, not only do you forgive your offender, you forgive others, but you have to forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I hope y'all caught that, because a lot of times something can have happened, you know, a long time ago, when we can forgive everybody else except
Right.
ourselves. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we can beat ourselves up better than
Right.
anybody can, you know, because the enemy will make us feel like it's our fault that it happened. You know,
Yeah.
you did something wrong, you caused this to happen, and then he'll have us
Mm-hmm.
replaying it over and over, the scenario in our minds, and then we're beating ourselves up trying to figure out how we
Right.
can change it. And it's hard for us to forgive ourselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I even thought about how my bishop always says, you can't go and unscramble those eggs.
Yeah. What's done is
You can't
done.
put that spilled milk back into the jug or back into the bottle. It happened. All you can do now, get you a napkin, wipe
Right.
it up, and go on with your life. So I love how you said not only do you have to forgive others, but you got to learn how to forgive yourself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and let God restore you. Let God heal you. Let God put the pieces of your broken heart and your broken life back together again. Because when you give it
Amen.
over to Him and you let Him do it, He
Right.
makes all things beautiful, and He does it at the
Amen.
perfect time. So I
Yes.
love it, and I thank God for it. I want to say thank you, Destinee. You've been transparent tonight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as I forestated, I know that is not an easy testimony to come
Yeah.
before a bunch of strangers, you know.
Right.
It's already a hard thing to share with people you're close to and people you do know, but then to come and
Mm-hmm.
share it with, you know, the world and with strangers who you don't know, it takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of courage to do what you have done.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you for just sharing the testimony that, you know, God has laid on your heart to share.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, one thing I really love about Women Who Rise and the women that are sharing their testimonies is that y'all are sharing y'all's honest,
Mm-hmm.
transparent, realist testimonies. And I say so often that these are the testimonies that people need to hear. They
Mm-hmm.
need to see that somebody dealt with this. I'm not the only one, you know, even in the
Yeah.
church, even as saved people, you know, and a lot of times we're guilty of looking at people who are saved now and then, you know, we can say, oh, they look like they got it all together. Oh, she looks good. She
Right.
dressed nice. She carried herself well. She's always smiling. He's always laughing, but you never know what God has delivered a person from. You don't
Right.
know what God has blessed a person to rise from. So that's why I love when the women come on here and they are sharing their honest testimony. They're giving their honest
Mm-hmm.
praise report. So I love it and I thank God for it. And I'm looking forward to more of it. So thank
Mm-hmm.
you again, Destinee, for, you know, your boldness, the confidence, and the strength just to come on here and, you know, share with us what God has done in your life. And your life is beautiful, as we all can see. As I stated, if you know Destinee personally, has a beautiful daughter. She's a beautiful young woman of God. She's a wife. She's just an overall beautiful woman. And we thank God for your life. And I
Thank
thank
you.
God because I wanted other young women to see what God can do for you when you yield your life to Him, when you forgive,
Yeah.
give it over to Him. When you let God work it out, y'all, He can make all things, like she said, He'll take that
Yeah.
ugly situation and He'll use it to bring you to a good place. So I thank God for it tonight. Viewers, I already know you all enjoyed Destinee's testimony, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If you enjoyed Destinee's testimony on tonight, y'all already know, let's give her a great big hand clap. Let's give her a great big round of applause just to say again, Destinee, thank you for
Yes,
sharing your
thanks for having
beautiful
me.
testimony. You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your beautiful testimony with us tonight. I have enjoyed you so much. Just your sweet, genuine, just hearing you talk, you know, and even hearing you talk about it, you're not talking from a place of bitterness.
Yes.
that's evident, because you got some people that can talk about it, but you know, you still hear a little bitterness at the back of their throat when they talk. But even hearing you talk, you're speaking from a healed place. You know, and I believe if you're gonna testify from a healed place. You testify from your place of bitterness. You may say something that you're not supposed to be saying, but you're testifying from a healed place. So you're able to testify the right way. And I thank God for that alone tonight. So yeah, y'all go ahead and keep putting your hands together for Destinee's beautiful testimony tonight. Beautiful, phenomenal testimony. And I thank God for it, because he's able to do anything but fail. I want to say thank you to all of our viewers tonight, whether you're viewing on Facebook, whether you're viewing on YouTube, whether you're going to come back and watch the replay at a later time. Whenever y'all watch, I thank God for all of the viewers, all of the followers, all of the supporters, everybody that has shared the flyer. Thank y'all so much. But y'all already know what I'm finna say. If you have not hit the share button, y'all, somebody needs to hear Destinee's testimony. Somebody is in a hurt place. They're in a bitter place, and the enemy has told them that they have to stay there. But that could not be further from the truth. God wants you to forgive. He wants you to accept the apology that you have not even gotten. So y'all make sure y'all hit the share button, so somebody young, older, regardless of their age, male and female, can come on and watch Destinee's testimony, and they can be encouraged to rise, to forgive, you know, to let God make something beautiful out of their life. So y'all go ahead and hit the share button. We're out of time for right now, but y'all know we will be back on next week. I have another beautiful woman of God whom I love and adore that is going to be sharing her testimony with us on next week. Y'all know, I'll let y'all know on Monday who our guest for next week is going to be, but we will be live next Thursday, y'all, 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. And also, I do have some new and exciting news coming up for you all. I will be sharing it with you all. I will be sharing that with you all on next week. So y'all stay tuned for that. I hope y'all excited, because I'm excited to share with y'all, but y'all stay tuned for that. Again, we're going to let you go for right now, but thank you, Destinee, again, for saying yes, your willingness to come on and share your testimony. We have enjoyed you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we're going to say good night for tonight. I love you all. I thank God for all of the followers. Again, I'm so sorry we were not live on last week. As I mentioned earlier, I was very sick and I was unable to, you know, go ahead and, you know, push through. Like I said, normally I am able to push through, and I come and I sit here regardless of how I feel, and I force myself to do it. But I couldn't do it last weekend. I had to use some wisdom and just, you know, sit last week out. But I thank God that we're here this week. I thank God for all of you that continue to follow, everybody that messaged me when you saw that we were not live. You know, thank y'all for that. I appreciate the prayers. God is an awesome God, and we will be back on next week. If the Lord says the same, we'll be back live next week, Thursday at 8:00. But until then, I love you all. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm excited. I'm trying to close, but I'm excited. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. God is an amazing God. Go and forgive. Even though the devil don't want you to forgive, go and forgive. And let God restore you and make your life into something so beautiful. I love y'all. Y'all have a wonderful week. We love you, Destinee, and good night.
Love you too.
Good night.
Good night.